Hey, hey. Good morning, fellow YouTubers. Happy Sunday morning. You know, when I think about what is the favorite part of riding a motorcycle, in my mind, it's the turns. You know, I'm not riding a dirt bike catching mega air. I'm not doing big burnouts or donuts. So, you know, some people might really enjoy the sense of freedom of really getting up high in speed on the highway and, you know, having maybe a long distance destination. And that sense of freedom is great. You know, you got your saddlebags packed with your camping gear or whatever. That's a wonderful feeling. But I really don't get to experience that much anymore. And so what I'm enjoying more than anything on my motorcycle is the churns. To me, I remember when I first started riding as a 16-year-old, what really got me hooked was the sense of flight, you know, in a churn, almost kind of imagining yourself, well, at least I would, is like a bird, a big, you know, beautiful hawk or eagle, and just leaning into that churn. So what I did was I just drew up a couple little pictures of a right-hand churn where you can't see through the churn and a left-hand churn because I think there's one different approach that's kind of helpful. So first I'll just go over the right-hand churn. So the right-hand churn is how I'm looking at it. So, you know, this is the road, this is the center lane, and then this is the black is your pathway. So if you're going through a right-hand churn, and then all these little scribbles are trees to indicate that your vision is blocked. So like when you're right here, obviously you're not going to be able to see the end towards the end of the churn right here because unless you're got x-ray vision. So, but just going a little bit wider, and then I also wrote oil patch just to kind of indicate the center of the lane. And obviously going too much into that right in the middle of a fast churn isn't always the best. So staying wide now, because if I'm right here, my vision can go all the way right past the corner of this churn all the way to here. So, and then when I'm here, it's gonna be through to the end of the churn pretty much. But obviously we run out of paper. We don't know how far this churn is going. So, but by just staying kind of wide, you're gonna increase how much you can see through the end of the churn. So if there is some hazard down at the end of that churn, you're gonna buy yourself an extra second and a half, maybe if you're going slow enough, 2 seconds to react to that. So if you're just got a knee down and you're scraping the inside of this churn, that's really exciting. I remember kind of doing that because your sense of danger is elevated because you can tell that you only have like 1 second of reaction time. If you're dragging a knee and hanging on the inside of that churn, you're only being able to see a very short distance. Okay, so that's right. Now, the left is different because the preferred way of churning, I think, is, you know, you start wide. So you start wide out here. Here's the oil patch. Start wide, and you've got a much greater field of vision on a left-hand churn because you have this open lane here with no trees. So you can start wide to still increase that, how much you can see through the churn. But then in the apex of the churn, right in the middle of the churn, you cross that oil patch and you start to kind of cruise in to the inside of the churn. I didn't mean to make it look like this, like you're almost churning, but, and then after the apex of the churn, as you start coming towards the outside of the churn, you start to cruise back out to the outside of the lane. And so what that does really is it it decreases how much of a churn you're making. So it's actually easier to go a little faster. You know, you don't have to rely on the traction of your tires quite as much because it's now less of a churn, really. Okay, so that's it. I view churns a little bit differently. Right hand, stay kind of on the outside, which is can be kind of problematic if you have these cars come in that like to drive with their wheels on the lane line, because well, that's just, you know, so obviously if you're doing this, keep an eye for those cars that like to drive too close to the lane line. Anyways, that's that on that. Let me know what you guys think, if that's a good strategy or not. And if you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe and enjoy your beautiful, wonderful Sunday. God bless.